Have you ever felt like you're just missing something crucial in a conversation? Or maybe wondered why someone reacted the way they did?
Oh, definitely. Like there's a whole layer underneath what's being said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What if you could actually understand what people are truly thinking and feeling, even when they're not saying a word?
That's a powerful idea, isn't it, to have that kind of insight?
It really is.
Yeah.
And, well, that's pretty much our mission for you today in this deep dive. We want to unlock some of the fascinating science and practical techniques behind understanding human behavior.
From the subtle gestures right through to the deeper motivations.
Yeah. And we're drawing our insights from this really comprehensive guide on, like, speed reading people, understanding body language,
Yeah.
emotions, decoding intentions, all that stuff.
And it's grounded in actual science and research, which is important, not just pseudoscience or guesswork.
Right. Our source basically promises to help us forge stronger relationships, avoid those awkward mixed signals, and it suggests knowing these cues can help in, well, everything from presentations to dating. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's get into it. It's interesting how the guide stresses that this is about connection, not manipulation, a key difference.
Totally crucial. It really highlights how personality is so much deeper than just, surface behavior.
Hmm.
So maybe we should start right at the beginning. Like, what is personality exactly? Why does it matter so much for how we connect?
Okay, yeah. Personality is fundamentally this set of characteristics that kind of consistently influence how someone thinks, feels, what motivates them, and how they behave.
Right.
The word itself, it comes from the Latin persona, which actually meant mask.
Oh, interesting. Like how we present ourselves.
Exactly, how we adapt to situations. And there's a whole branch of science, personality psychology, dedicated to figuring out, what traits make us up, how we think, what makes us similar or different.
So when most people think about personality types, I guess the first thing that pops up is introvert versus extrovert,
Yeah.
right? But that often gets boiled down to just quiet versus loud. What's the real difference there?
Yeah, that's a common oversimplification.
Mm.
The core difference, it really lies in how their brains operate and how they gain or lose energy.
Energy. How so?
Well, extroverts tend to have a shorter dopamine trigger. They actively seek stimulation, taste, touch, visuals, sound. It encourages reward seeking. They genuinely recharge by being around people through that social interaction.
Okay.
Introverts, on the other hand, their brain pathways are more involved in things like planning, remembering, problem solving, and they actually recharge best when they're alone, in quieter settings.
So it's literally about how their brain chemistry works and where they get their energy back.
Pretty much. Now, both types can absolutely flex. An introvert can be social, an extrovert can enjoy quiet time, but they tend to default back to their preferred setting to recharge.
That makes so much sense. So if you're planning, say, a birthday party.
Right. For an introvert, you probably aim for something smaller, quieter. For an extrovert, you might go for something more social, maybe even adrenaline-fueled. It guides your approach.
So it's not about shyness then necessarily. It's about the internal battery.
That's a great way to put it. It's less about ability or shyness and more about energy depletion and replenishment. An introvert can thrive socially, but it often costs them more energy, drains that battery faster.
Gotcha. They need that quiet time to plug back in.
Precisely.
Okay, so beyond that basic introvert-extrovert split, our source gets into some other, maybe deeper frameworks. Let's talk about the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, that MBTI. What's that about?
Ah, the MBTI. Yeah, popularized by Carl Jung. It really expands on that simple introvert-extrovert idea. It uses 8 core categories grouped into pairs.
Okay.
So you have introverted or extroverted, I or E, then sensing or intuitive, S or N, then thinking or feeling, T or F, and finally perceiving or judging, P or J.
Right, I've seen those letters.
Yeah, and they combine into 16 distinct personality types, like INTJ or ESFP. And Yoon himself said something really wise, like, there's no such thing as a pure extrovert or introvert. Such a person should be in a lunatic asylum.
Okay, fair point.
Mm.
It's a spectrum.
Exactly. This framework helps us understand not just energy, but how people gather information, make decisions, and sort of structure their outer world.
Okay, can you break down those pairs a bit more, like sensing versus intuitive?
Sure. So someone with a preference for sensing, the S, they focus on concrete facts, details, what they can see, hear, touch, the 5 senses.
Yeah.
Very grounded in the here and now.
Okay, practical.
Yeah. Whereas an intuitive type, the N, they focus more on the big picture, on patterns, possibilities, hunches, more abstract, future-oriented.
And thinking versus feeling. That sounds like logic versus emotion.
Pretty much. A thinking type, TSEC, uses logical analysis, strives for objectivity, truth. Sometimes that can seem a bit impersonal. A feeling type, F, prioritizes emotions, considers others' values, seeks harmony, consensus. It's more about the impact on people.
Okay. And the last pair, judging and perceiving.
Right. A judging type, J, likes things planned, organized, decided. They prefer closure, structure. Think plan A, B, C.
Definitely know some people like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
And a perceiving type, P, prefers flexibility, spontaneity. They like to keep options open, go with the flow, more adaptable, maybe less decisive up front.
Wow. So you combine these and you get really different profiles. Can you give an example? Like compare two opposite types.
Absolutely. Let's take an INTJ, introverted, intuitive thinking, judging.
Okay.
They tend to be quiet, strategic, future-focused, logical. They love long-term plans, can sometimes seem direct or maybe even blunt because they prioritize logic over, say, social niceties, often found in roles like professors, engineers, strategists.
Makes sense.
Now flip that to an ESFP, extroverted, sensing, feeling, perceiving.
Total opposite.
Right. They're typically warm, enthusiastic, charismatic, focused on the present moment, enjoy sensory experiences, great storytellers, very people-oriented, dislike being rushed. You might find them as actors, performers, designers.
That really paints a picture. It shows how these preferences create such different ways of being in the world.
Exactly. It's about understanding those underlying preferences.
Now, the source also mentioned the Enneagram. How does that fit in? Is it similar to MBTI?
It's different, actually. The Enneagram, derived from Claudio Naranjo's work, identifies 9 core personality types, but it focuses more on core motivations, fears, and desires rather than just cognitive functions like MBTI.
Motivations and fears.
Yeah. For example, you have type 1, the reformer, driven by a need to be good, right, to have integrity. Then you have type 7, the enthusiast, driven by a need to avoid pain and maintain happiness, always seeking new experiences. Their core drive is totally different. Like MBTI, it's often used in business for insights.
Interesting. So it's another lens focusing on the why behind the what.
You could say that, yeah. And then there's also the Keirsey temperament sorter, the KTS.
Right. That one correlates with MBTI.
It does. KTS groups people into 4 broader temperaments, which can be a bit quicker to grasp initially.
Okay, where are they?
You've got artisans, adaptable, tactical, sensation-seeking, great troubleshooters, think performers, craftspeople. Then guardians, dependable, organized, value security, tradition, good at logistics, think managers, administrators. Then idealists, empathetic, focus on meaning, personal growth, diplomacy, often counselors, writers. And finally, rationals, strategic, objective, value knowledge, competence, often scientists, engineers. Each of these has sub-roles that map onto the 16 MBTI types.
So lots of frameworks, but the key takeaway here, as you said, is that these aren't rigid boxes, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Personality is a spectrum. These are preferences, tendencies. Someone might lean heavily introvert, but can absolutely step up and be extroverted when needed. It's about understanding their default settings, perhaps.
Okay, so if we're trying to understand someone, knowing these frameworks can help, but we have to be careful. Our source is pretty upfront about the pitfalls, right? This isn't an exact science.
Not at all, and that's a critical point. One of the biggest challenges is culture.
How so?
Well, take bowing. In many Asian cultures, it's a clear sign of respect, and the depth matters. In the U.S., a nod means something different. You can't just apply one culture's nonverbal dictionary everywhere. Research in cultural norms is crucial.
That makes sense. What else?
Another big one is that you're usually guessing someone's type. Very few people walk around knowing their MBTI or Enneagram type, let alone announcing it.
Right, so you're inferring from behavior or speech.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're observing cues and making an educated guess, which might be wrong. And you absolutely cannot rely solely on body language.
Why not? Isn't that what this is all about?
It's part of it, but it's supplemental. You have to listen to. Most body language just emphasizes or sometimes contradicts what's being said verbally. You need both the words and the music, so to speak. Look and listen.
Got it. Words and music. I like that. Any other traps?
Oh, yeah. The power of groups. Conformity is huge. People will literally change their minds or go along with something they know is wrong just to fit in. Think about groupthink or how a strong leader can sway opinions.
Yeah, you see that all the time. And what about just appearances? Judging a book by its cover.
Definitely. That's called facism, essentially judging personality based on facial features. Like assuming someone with feminine features is automatically warm or trustworthy. You have to separate reading expressions, the movements, from just judging static
Right.
features.
Distinguishing movement from structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the undeniable impact of physical attractiveness.
Ah, the halo effect.
Precisely. It can make us assign positive traits someone hasn't earned, or distract us from less positive motives, or even make us misread simple friendliness as flirting, for example.
That's a tricky one. We're all susceptible to that, I think.
We are. It's a bias to be aware of. And finally, a big one. Your own mood. If you're feeling down, you're more likely to interpret ambiguous signals negatively, see sadness where there isn't any.
Oh, wow. So your own state colors your perception.
Completely. Staying calm, collected, and trying to be unbiased is vital for getting a clearer read.
So, okay, lots of challenges. It's clearly complex. But despite all that, honing these skills does have real benefits, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Huge benefits. The main one is simply connecting better with people. Understanding where they're coming from lets you adjust your response, maybe help them feel understood, avoid offending them unintentionally.
That alone seems worthwhile.
It really is. It also significantly helps in business and employment. Gauging a client's interest, understanding team dynamics, reading the room in a negotiation, incredibly useful.
Oh, you see that.
It can even help prevent conflict. If you recognize early signs of frustration or aggression in someone's body language or tone, you might be able to de-escalate before things blow up.
Proactive communication.
Exactly. And you can also improve others' impression of you by being more mindful of your own body language, knowing when to project confidence, when to blend in, when to show warmth.
Right, managing your own signals.
Which ultimately makes you a better communicator overall, better at both sending and receiving messages accurately.
Okay, so let's get practical. Our source gives some great tips on spotting and interacting with different types based on these frameworks. Starting with introverts, what are some common signs we might notice?
Well, introverts often zone out in really busy social settings. They might get quiet, look distant, like they've mentally checked out.
Yeah, I've seen that or done that.
Right. They're also often the ones who leave parties early, or if they stay, they might disappear to quieter spots or stick close to the few people they know well.
Seeking refuge.
Exactly. They often have intense interests in solitary hobbies, reading, art, coding, things they can dive into alone. And they can get noticeably irritable or drained after too much socializing. They really need that downtime.
The recharge time we talked about.
Yep. They might even volunteer for tasks that let them be alone at a social event, like being the photographer. It's a way to participate without being overwhelmed by constant interaction.
Okay, so knowing these signs, how should we approach communication with someone we perceive as more introverted?
Generally, it's good to be direct. Avoid lots of rambling or unnecessary small talk, especially if you need specific information. They often appreciate getting straight to the point.
Respect their focus.
Exactly, and respect their need for focus. Allow them uninterrupted work time if possible. A huge thing is to listen intently without interrupting. That's often a major pet peeve.
Okay, noted. No interrupting.
And give them time to think before they respond. They often process internally, unlike extroverts who think out loud, so don't rush them for an answer.
Patience is key.
Definitely. And physically. Greet them with a smile, sure, but respect their personal space. Avoid overly familiar physical contact unless you know them really well. And things like public praise can often make them deeply uncomfortable. Private appreciation usually lands better.
That's really helpful advice. Okay, let's flip the coin. How do we spot and best connect with extroverts?
Extroverts often have broad interests, lots of them, especially social ones like team sports or group activities. They thrive on variety and external engagement.
Energy from the outside.
Right. They usually communicate best through lively conversation, often using lots of hand gestures, very expressive. They tend to be comfortable with physical touch, maybe air kisses, backslaps, hugs, depending on the culture and relationship, of course.
More comfortable in the spotlight.
Generally, yes. They often have no problem being the center of attention and really enjoy group work and brainstorming sessions. A key thing is they often think out loud.
Ah, the opposite of internal processing.
Exactly. They figure things out by talking them through, bouncing ideas off others, seeking advice readily.
So how do we best engage with these more outgoing personalities?
Well, start with a warm greeting smile, make good eye contact, try to match their energy level, maintain an energetic vibe yourself, use open gestures.
Mirroring their energy somewhat.
To a degree, yeah. Be responsive when they talk. Ask open-ended questions to encourage them to elaborate. They usually love to.
Let them talk it out.
Yes, allow them to think out loud. That's how they process. Using personal examples or stories works well as they often connect through shared experiences and narratives.
Okay.
And give them space to explore options before making a decision. They like batting ideas around. If they get into a debate, try not to take it too personally. For many extroverts, especially certain types, it's a way of exploring ideas and having fun.
What about when they're stressed?
They might become louder, more animated, maybe more demanding. For the more commanding extrovert types, like your ESTJs or ENTJs, when they get stressed, they can become quite bossy. Often the best approach is to help them achieve whatever goal is stressing them out, and maybe use humor to lighten the mood if appropriate.
And for those more commanding types in general, any specific tips?
Yeah, keep greetings friendly, but often brief and to the point. Direct eye contact. Be direct and clear about what you need. They usually appreciate efficiency. If you don't know something, just be honest about it. Avoid vagueness. If you're unclear about something they've said, ask them outright for clarification.
Okay, straight shooting seems key there. Now, moving beyond personality types, our source talks about 4 core communication styles: passive-aggressive, and assertive. Can you break those down? Why do they matter?
Sure. These styles describe how we exchange information, basically. And people can definitely shift between them depending on the situation or what they want to achieve.
Okay, start with passive.
Passive communication is really indirect. It's all about hints, maybe beating around the bush. They put the burden on the other person to figure out what they need or want.
What does that look like?
You might see poor eye contact, or maybe way too much eye contact in an anxious way. Slumped shoulders, a quiet or hesitant voice, maybe repeating themselves. They might say things like, oh, it doesn't really matter, or whatever you want is fine.
And the downside?
Leads to a lot of misunderstanding, unmet needs, and often resentment building up silently.
Okay. Then there's aggressive. That sounds more obvious.
It usually is. Aggressive communication is loud, demanding, often uses criticism, blame, threats, or intimidation.
Body language, too.
Oh, yeah. Leaning in, maybe pointing, intense staring, harsh tone. It's less about sharing information and more about compelling action or controlling the situation. Not great for relationships.
Definitely not. Okay, what about passive-aggressive? That one always sounds tricky.
It's often the most frustrating because it looks passive on the surface, but there's this hidden layer of aggression underneath.
How does that show up?
Things like muttering under their breath instead of saying something directly, saying yes, but then dragging their feet or doing something else entirely. The silent treatment, spreading rumors, sarcasm used as a weapon, or saying things like, fine, do whatever you want, with a tone that clearly means it's not fine, or, well, I'm okay with it, but some people might have a problem.
Ugh, yeah. Leaves you feeling confused and powerless.
Exactly. And finally, the goal, assertive communication.
The healthy one.
Ideally, yes. It's about expressing your own needs, wants, and feelings directly and honestly, but respectfully, without, hopefully, stepping on the other person's toes. It aims for balance and open dialogue.
What are the signs of assertiveness?
Using I statements, I feel, I need, I think, maintaining good, steady eye contact, a calm, clear tone of voice, good posture, listening actively but also making sure you get your turn to speak. Being willing to say no respectfully, addressing problems directly point by point rather than attacking the person.
Okay, that seems like the ideal to aim for. So understanding these styles helps us see what's happening in an interaction, maybe even adjust our own approach.
Precisely. You can recognize what style someone else is using and choose how to respond effectively rather than just reacting.
All right, this is where it gets really juicy for a lot of people. Detecting lies. Our source says, again, it's not an exact science, but there are potential tells. What should we be looking out for?
Yeah, this is always fascinating, isn't it? First and foremost, the absolute key is establishing a baseline.
Baseline.
How does the person normally act when they're telling the truth, when they're relaxed and confident? You need that comparison point. Deviations from that baseline are what might signal something is off, not just the behavior itself.
Okay, crucial first step. So what kinds of deviations?
We'll look at hand movements. Sometimes liars gesture after they speak, like the body is lagging behind the brain trying to construct the lie. Or they might use both hands more than usual, or maybe keep their palms hidden in pockets behind their back, almost subconsciously holding back information.
So too much or too little hand movement compared to normal.
Exactly. A change from their baseline. Then there's itching and fidgeting. Now, the old myth about scratching your nose isn't reliable on its own.
Right, the Pinocchio effect.
Yeah. But nervousness does affect the autonomic nervous system, which can cause real tingling sensations. So you might see fidgeting with hair, clothes, fingers, their phone more than usual. It's a sign of discomfort.
Okay. What about the face? Eyes?
Facial expressions. Looking away too much or staring too intensely can be signs. The old idea about looking left to fabricate and right to recall. A 2012 study pretty much debunked that. It's more about the overall change in eye contact patterns from their norm.
So don't get hung up on left versus right. Got it.
Right. Also, watch for change in complexion. Going pale could indicate fear or nervousness. Flushing red might show anger, embarrassment, or sometimes excitement. Again, compare it to their normal coloring.
Sweat.
Ah, yes. Sweat, particularly in the T-zone, forehead, nose, upper lip. That's a pretty strong physiological response to nervousness for many people when they're being deceptive.
Interesting. The T-zone.
In
Their voice.
Tone of voice can shift. It might go higher pitched because nervousness tightens vocal cords. Or they might clear their throat a lot, stutter, sound hoarse. A sudden change in volume, like getting louder defensively, can also be a flag.
And the mouth itself.
The mouth. Sometimes people purse their lips or roll them inward, almost like they're physically holding back words or the truth. That can indicate a lie of omission. Other lip movements might show tension or resistance.
Okay, this is a lot of nonverbal stuff. But what if someone's a really practiced liar? They might control their body language.
Excellent point. That's why you also have to listen carefully to the words themselves. Experienced liars might overcompensate verbally,
Ah,
using phrases like honestly, or to tell you the truth, or believe me, more than necessary. Also, excessive use of fillers like, especially if that's not their usual pattern, can indicate cognitive load. It's harder work to lie than tell the truth. Or maybe their story is too perfect, too rehearsed, lacking normal detail.
wow. So baseline, clusters of tells, deviations, and listen to the words. But even then, it's about nervousness, not guaranteed lying, right?
Absolutely. Someone might be nervous because they're being accused, or the topic is sensitive, or they're just an anxious person. You have to consider the context. These are just potential indicators, clues, not proof.
That's a really important caveat. Okay, so beyond just spotting potential deception, the source pushes us to understand the deeper why. What motivates people's actions?
Right. Understanding motivations gives you a much richer picture. Motives are the conscious or often unconscious drivers behind our behavior. And a classic framework for this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Ah, yeah, the pyramid. I remember that from school.
Exactly. It suggests we have levels of needs, and we generally try to satisfy the lower level ones before moving up, though it's not always perfectly linear in real life.
Remind us of the levels.
Sure. At the bottom, the foundation, are physiological needs, basic survival stuff. Food, water, shelter, sleep, health. Can't focus on much else if those aren't met.
Makes sense.
Next up is safety needs. Feeling secure, physically safe, financially stable, secure employment, health insurance, living in a safe neighborhood, that kind of thing.
Okay, security.
Then comes social belonging, or love and belongingness. The need for connection, friendship, intimacy, family, being part of a group. Loneliness and isolation hit hard here if this need isn't met.
The need for community.
Yep. Level 4 is esteem needs. This includes self-esteem, confidence, competence, independence, and also the esteem we get from others. Recognition, respect, status, appreciation.
Feeling valued.
Right. And at the very top is self-actualization. This is about fulfilling your unique potential, becoming everything you're capable of being. Think creativity, problem solving, personal growth, pursuing passions.
Reaching your peak potential.
Exactly. And Maslow later added a potential 6th level, transcendence, which is about connecting to something beyond the self-spirituality, service to others, peak experiences.
Okay, so how does knowing this hierarchy help us understand people day to day?
Well, you can often interpret someone's actions by thinking about which level of need they might be trying to fulfill. Are they working crazy hours primarily for financial security, safety, or for recognition and status, esteem? Is someone joining lots of clubs to find friends, belonging, or to develop a skill? Self-actualization. It gives you a lens to see the underlying drive.
So you look at the behavior and ask, what fundamental need might this be serving?
Exactly. It helps you look past the surface action to the deeper motivation.
Are there other general guidelines the source gives for understanding people's motives or behaviors?
Yeah, a few really useful ones. First, remember that most social behavior is hidden. People constantly suppress emotions or true intentions because society kind of demands it.
Right, we can't all just emote all the time.
Exactly. So you need to look for those little tells, those micro expressions, or moments when the mask slips. that moment between the stimulus and the controlled response. Empathy helps you look beneath the surface.
Okay, look for the cracks in the facade.
Kind of. Another big one. Assume ignorance or unawareness before malice. If someone does something that upsets you, try assuming they didn't realize the impact, or they just forgot, rather than assuming they intended to hurt you.
The Hanlon's razor idea: never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity or ignorance.
Precisely. It leads to much kinder, calmer reactions and fewer conflicts based on misinterpretations.
That's a powerful reframe. What else?
Remember selfish altruism. People often help others in ways that also benefit themselves, maybe boosting their own reputation or feeling good about themselves. It doesn't make the help less valuable, but it's a realistic view of motivation.
So win-win is common, even if one side is less obvious.
Right. Also, accept that memory is fickle. People misremember things all the time. Assume genuine error before assuming intentional deception or malice when someone's story doesn't quite line up with yours. We tend to recall similarities more than differences, too.
Good point. Our own memories aren't perfect recordings either.
Not even close. And finally, remember that people are generally more emotional than they let on. Just because someone seems calm doesn't mean they aren't feeling things intensely inside. We're often discouraged from showing strong emotions, so people learn to keep them bottled up. Don't assume someone doesn't care just because they aren't showing it outwardly.
So there's usually more going on beneath the surface than meets the eye.
Almost always.
Okay, what about situations where you don't have much time? You can't do a deep dive observation. Our source mentions something called thin slicing. What's that?
Thin slicing is basically our ability to make surprisingly accurate judgments about a person or situation based on very limited information, just a thin slice of experience.
Like a gut feeling.
Kinda, yeah. It's that rapid cognition, often subconscious. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a whole book, Blink, about it. He talked about art experts who could spot a fake instantly, even if they couldn't articulate exactly why right away.
Where else do we see this? Is it common?
Oh, all the time. First impressions are a classic example. Studies have shown students can judge a teacher's effectiveness pretty accurately based on just a few minutes of watching them teach, sometimes even with the sound off.
Wow. Right.
Yeah. And interestingly, some research suggests women might generally be slightly better at thin slicing than men.
Huh. Okay, what else?
Speed dating. People often make up their minds about wanting a second date within minutes. Social media profiles, we instantly make judgments about personality, lifestyle, job just from scrolling a feed. Employers do this too, checking profiles.
For sure, it happens so fast.
It does. There was even a study back in '99 suggesting people could perceive sexual orientation with about 70% accuracy just from watching 10-second silent video clips, and gay individuals were slightly more accurate at it, maybe some truth to the idea of gaydar.
Fascinating.
Also, sometimes you get that gut feeling that something is just off about someone, which might occasionally cautiously hint at an underlying personality disorder prompting you to keep your distance, or just that immediate sense when you think someone's lying. Often your gut instinct is faster and sometimes more accurate than conscious analysis.
So when we're thin slicing, what are we actually picking up on? Is it one specific thing?
It varies. Sometimes it is one key thing. Like, research on marriage found that observing contempt, one partner showing scorn or superiority in just a brief interaction, was a powerful predictor of later divorce.
Well, just contempt.
Yeah. But while focusing on one cue can work sometimes, thin slicing is generally less reliable than having more information. It's a useful tool when time is short, tapping into that intuition we all have. But if you do have more time, use it to gather more data and confirm or revise that initial gut feeling.
Trust but verify, essentially.
Yeah.
Use the gut feeling as a starting point.
Good way to put it.
Now, throughout all this, our source keeps reminding us that we are part of the equation. How does understanding ourselves help us understand and connect with others?
It's absolutely crucial. Your ability to accurately read and connect with others is fundamentally filtered through your own personality, your own biases, your own communication style.
How so?
Well, knowing your own tendencies, say, your MBTI type, are you more introverted or extroverted? A thinker or a feeler helps you recognize your natural inclinations and potential blind spots. If you know you're a logical thinking type, you might realize you need to consciously pay more attention to the emotional cues from a feeling type you're talking to.
So you can adjust your lens.
Exactly. Self-awareness allows you to find that middle ground, to adjust your approach consciously when interacting with someone who operates differently. It makes you more flexible and effective.
And what about our own body language? What signals should we be mindful of sending, both positive and negative?
great question. For negative or disengaged signals, you want to avoid things like folding your arms tightly across your chest, having a tense or blank facial expression, angling your body away from the person, avoiding eye contact, slouching, fidgeting excessively, or seeming distracted by doodling or gazing off into space. These all scream, "I'm not interested," or "I'm uncomfortable."
Okay, the closed-off stuff. What about positive cues?
You want an open, relaxed posture, sitting or standing upright but not rigidly, hands resting comfortably at your sides or loosely folded in your lap. Try to avoid touching your face too much. It can sometimes be unconsciously interpreted as deceptive, even if it's just a nervous habit.
Eye contact.
Yes, maintain comfortable, appropriate eye contact. It shows engagement and sincerity, not staring, but meeting their gaze regularly. A firm handshake, where culturally appropriate, still conveys confidence and trustworthiness.
Anything else?
Mirroring can be effective, subtly matching some of the other person's posture or gestures. It builds unconscious rapport. But don't overdo it or be obvious. That's just creepy.
Right. Subtle mirroring.
Yeah, and simple things like nodding to show you're listening, offering genuine smiles, and leaning in slightly all signal interest and help build connection.
How can we apply this specifically in, say, high-stakes situations, like giving a presentation or going for a job interview?
Okay, for public speaking, maintain that positive, upright posture. Use open hand gestures, palms slightly up sometimes as if inviting the audience in. If you feel the audience's attention waning, sometimes leaning forward slightly, as if sharing a confidence can draw them back in.
Nice tip. And interviews.
In interviews, subtle mirroring of the interviewer's posture can help build that subconscious connection. Show your interest, actively nod, smile appropriately, keep your body language relaxed and open. If you get asked a tough question, it's okay to pause briefly. Maybe lightly touch your cheek or glance upwards thoughtfully. It shows you're considering the question seriously, not just blurting something out. Avoid nervous habits like tapping your feet or slouching. Project calm confidence.
Good practical advice. And the source mentions the golden rule.
Yes. At the end of the day, if you're ever unsure how to act or react in a situation, falling back on the golden rule is pretty solid advice. Do not do unto others what you don't want others to do unto you.
Treat others as you'd like to be treated.
Exactly. Ask yourself, would I appreciate this if someone did it to me? It's a simple but powerful guide for navigating interactions respectfully and building stronger relationships.
Okay, one last thing before we wrap up. Our source debunks some common body language myths. What are some things people often get wrong?
Yeah, there are a few persistent ones. One is the idea of staring someone down to intimidate them or show dominance.
Doesn't work.
Not really. Intense, unbroken staring usually just comes across as weird, creepy, or aggressive. It's more likely to provoke discomfort or conflict than establish dominance.
Good to know. What else?
The myth that speaking first automatically gives you the upper hand, in reality, what you say and how clearly you say it matters way more than just being the first one to talk or talking the loudest or fastest. Substance over speed.
Right. Content matters.
Definitely. And another one is touching someone first to establish dominance. Especially in professional settings, initiating unnecessary physical contact can easily cross boundaries, seem overly familiar, or just be awkward. It's generally not a recommended tactic for building rapport or showing authority.
So stick to handshakes where appropriate and avoid the power touching.
Pretty much, context is everything, but those power move myths are often counterproductive.
So pulling it all together, what's the ultimate takeaway for navigating this, as you said, inexact science of reading people?
I think the main thing is to remember that body language is inexact. Baselines differ hugely between people and cultures. Cues can be misinterpreted. But when you're really unsure, when the signals seem mixed or confusing, the most reliable method is often the simplest.
Which is?
Just ask people honestly what they think or feel. Direct, respectful communication. Their actual words, if they're willing to be honest, will almost always give you a clearer picture than trying to decode every subtle twitch or glance. Don't underestimate the power of just talking.
That's a great reminder. Sometimes the simplest approach is best. So we've taken a really deep dive today into reading people, personality types, nonverbal cues, communication styles, motivations, even that thin slicing idea.
Yeah, covered a lot of ground. And it's crucial to keep that core goal in mind. The aim is better connection and understanding, not manipulation.
Absolutely. And it seems the path to understanding others really does start with understanding yourself, doesn't it? Knowing your own tendencies, biases, communication style.
It really does. Your own internal landscape shapes how you perceive the external world, including other people. So self-reflection is key. And then when you're observing others, just remember how complex people are. It's a fascinating, intricate dance.
I love the suggestion from our source to practice by watching movies. Pay attention to great actors, like Meryl Streep. See how tiny gestures convey huge emotions. Then see if the plot confirms your interpretation.
Ah, yes, that's a fantastic low-stakes way to hone your observation skills. Safe and enjoyable practice.
Definitely safer than trying it out in a high-stakes meeting first. So, for everyone listening, what stood out to you from this deep dive? How might you use some of these insights to forge stronger, clearer connections in your own life? Something to think about.